like Kabin said earlier, my name is Darpan Chapagain, and I have been working in Proshore, particularly its sister company Digital Products Lab, for about a year now. And so let me explain you first what Digital Products Labs do. So basically what we do is we create some integration app for Shopify e-commerce platform. And what we help is all the merchants from Shopify e-commerce platform and help them send their products from Shopify to other various marketplaces. Currently, we have two main applications. That is, its integration and sync, and other CJ, SRSL, and even affiliate marketplaces. So today, I will be explaining you how we were able to be a bit successful using Hotjar in Digital Products Lab. So moving on. So before I start explaining, may I know how many of you here are experienced with product development, or how many of you are project manager or some developer here? Can you please raise your hand so that I can know you can relate to some of these problems that I am going to explain? Okay, I see Ashish raising his hand. Okay, so there are a couple of guys here who are experienced with product management and developing, so that's good. So you might know, if you own a website, and like unless you do some manual work to track some user activity, you might have no clarity on how your website is performing. Let's say if you have added Google Analytics, and you might get some insight on how your website is performing on traffic, right? But you do not have any visualization data if your website is performing well. So that is one of the problems that you might be facing. Let's say you have an important text somewhere around your website, but do you have any knowledge whether your users are reading that certain piece of information? Or let's say if you have an e-commerce website, and you have listed a product that you might think would sell a lot, but you don't know if your users are viewing that product at all. So this is an example that you might have been facing if you have owned a website before. And since a lot of you here are developers, you can relate to this. No functions or features are perfect at all, no matter how talented you are. There will always be bug in any feature or software that you develop. And unless like you stumble into that bug one day by any mistake, you will not know how to solve that bug. So let's say if a user that who is using your software visits your website and stumble up into that bug, then he will have a really bad impression on your website, and you will lose some potential customer because of that bug. And like I don't think that a lot of customers goes on and reports to the developers saying that, hey, your website has this bug. I guess you guys can relate to it as well. How many of you guys do you really report a developer and Apple Store or a Play Store that the app is not performing well? I guess none of you really do that, right? If some of you are doing that, then that's great. You guys rock, right? Because of you guys, it helps us to solve this issue. But I'm pretty sure there are few of the guys here, and we can there are some hidden bugs that you will be not able to know in your application. So that is one of the problems that you might be facing up until now. And also, if you are a designer and a front-end designer, then you might be facing an issue like how should you create your design to make things easier for your users. You might have tried everything to make sure that your application is user friendly enough, but still your user aren't increasing. You are not getting many installs in your application, and so you might start trying the guessing game and think whether I think this design could work. So you might just release some different design every different month to make sure that your application is performing well. So that is a huge problem as well. And also similarly to the design, I'm pretty sure you might be having some hard time to make a good feature for your user. You might think that this feature will help your users to solve some of your issues in your application, But yeah, and some of your user might reach out to the developers itself and say, yeah, I want this feature, right? But are you that the feature can work for that one client, but are you sure that whether that feature would work for other clients as well? Do you think the other clients would benefit from that particular feature after you release it? Do you know that if other clients are having a good time using that feature? I don't think so, right? So this might be one of the top 4 problems that you might be facing if you have ever worked in a software before. So if you think you have any other problems besides than this, then you can please share it to Kabin Gurung, and we can discuss whether Hotjar can solve that at the end of the session as well. Also, now moving on. So how does Hotjar really solve this problem? Yes, absolutely. And if you don't know already, Hotjar is an analytic tools that helps you to visualize how your user is performing on your website. It helps you to track each and every journey of your client through each and every pages of your website. Like you don't only just see the data, you just see how they are using your application in your website. And so let's say because there are a couple of features like recording and heat map features, you can see how your website is performing and how you can improve your application. So how has Hotjar helped our app Shopify integration and sync app? Like I said earlier, Digital Products Lab is a sister company of Proshore, and we develop different integration app to help Shopify merchants to send their products to. And we have one of our main application is it's integration and sync app, and Hotjar has helped us tremendously to improve our application each day. So at first, you might be getting quite excited, right, to see how it has worked, right? So let me show you the data, like how, what were the problems that we were facing before. So previously, before we used Hotjar, we did not know why the clients were uninstalling. And our product leader, Subash, and product owner, Roshan sir, would always ask each one of us why this merchant uninstall, and we would have no data. We would have no data for that. We did not have any. We could not find any reason. We thought our application was good enough. It was, yeah, because integration apps are generally quite simple, right? After a few clicks away, they perform a very simple task, and our application is quite like that. After a few clicks, our application sends Shopify products to Etsy, but we did not know why there were a huge uninstallation rate in our application. And so because of that, we would think on to how to improve our application each day. But since we had done most of the feature that we could develop at the time, we did not know how we could improve our application. So that was a huge problem that we were facing earlier as well. And also since, yeah, we started to do the guessing game that we explained earlier. Like some clients would reach out to us and say, yeah, I would like to see this feature, and we would give that feature, right? We will develop that feature and release it. However, we did not know how the other clients who did not request for that feature was performing using that feature. So that was a huge problem that we were facing before. And before using Hotjar, we tried different analytics tools like Yandex and Google Analytics, but we did not get the data that we wanted, and we were going nowhere using that. So these were some of the problems that we were facing earlier. So now let me show you how we were performing before using Hotjar. So before using Hotjar, we had in the range of March of 2021 to October 1st of 2021, we had 178 installs, right? And like this, they did not uninstall our app, and they were using it. And if you look in the data, it seems pretty good, right? And you might ask me, hey Darpan, what's wrong? This merchant growth is great, right? So why do you think you want to improve your application further? Because we believe we should never settle for less, right? We should all, to reach to the top, we must always improve upon we should always be better than ourselves. So we thought we need to improve and make our application better. So we thought of using Hotjar. So then we decided to use Hotjar at around the November of 2021, and then you could see the result right away. So after we started to use Hotjar, you can see there was a tremendous amount of installation and user retention after that. And you can see the our installation rate increased from 21% to 38%, and our user user growth has increased almost by double. Previously there was 178, and later on it was converted into 396. So it is pretty impressive, right? So up until now, before I start explaining further for Hotjar features, do anyone has any question up until now? If you do, please raise your hand or let Kabin know about it, and then maybe we can discuss about it a bit for a while. Do we have any question, Kabin?
We do not have any questions at the moment. If anyone has any questions, you can directly text me in the chat, or please raise your hand.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, maybe some of you would like to discuss about it at the end, since after you see the feature of the application. So yeah, if we do not have any question, shall I proceed, Kabin?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Okay, that's great. So let me explain you how we are using Hotjar at the moment. From the team of Digital Products Lab are using Hotjar daily, and let me explain you how we use it. So Hotjar has been so important to us that we always analyze our user activity first thing in the morning. So if you are experienced with Scrum, then you might know it is mandatory to do daily stand-up meeting, right? So Hotjar, the discussion on Hotjar and user activity has been quite important for us. We always analyze our users activity and plan for the day, like how to improve our application. And if we find any difficulty that a user was facing that day, then we discuss upon it, and we would decide like how we can improve our application after that. Now, since we started using Hotjar, we started to receive some answers on why certain clients were installing. Uninstalling. Sorry for that. Yeah. So previously, some of the client would uninstall, saying, "Yeah, the app is not performing well." But if we looked into our database, with their everything was working perfectly, right? We could not find any issue at that time. But once we started looking into Hotjar, and we started to search for the uninstall client in our Hotjar application, and we started to get some data. Like, we don't actually go for all the uninstallation like 100%, but even if you give some 20% effort on understanding each installation properly, you will get really good answers after that. So, and we started to improve our application after each uninstallation. So also, after analyzing the user activity, we started to think of an ideas to how to possibly add new features to make some improvement in our applications. So so we would tend to see like how most of our users are behaving in certain aspects of our application. And then we started to identify, oh yeah, I think we need to add some components here to make things easier for our users. So let's say, for an example, we found that we did not have a view deleted product section in our application, and like we showed an indication that this number of products were deleted, and we discovered that some of the clients were clicking that section of the application. So we identified that we needed a button there, and the clients wanted to see which products were deleted previously. So that is an example like how Hotjar has helped us to improve our application. Also, like I explained earlier, previously we did not know how our newly released features were working. We might get some data like from the client who had requested for a feature, but we did not know how the other users were reacting to that feature. Was it working well? Was it working as it intended? And also, like I explained earlier, no feature is perfect at the beginning, and there is always some bugs there. And no matter how hard and you try to optimize it, you will always get surprised seeing some of the crazy bugs out there. So yeah, we started to analyze the newly released feature, and we used to fix each and every bug after we analyze the feature using Hotjar. So does anyone have any question related to this? So if you do, please let Kabin know about it, then I will be more than happy to answer it. Do we have any question, Kabin?
No, we do not have any questions.
Okay, guys, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that our session is quite interactive. So if you do have any question, please feel free to ask it. Okay, we'll be more than happy to answer it. So okay, moving on. So what are the main features of Hotjar? So these are the four main features of Hotjar, and if you do a quick Google search, you will see that Hotjar is quite famous for project managers and designers, and it is quite famous for the heat map features. And what we are using right now, Hotjar, is for recording feature, and when a user uses our application, Hotjar records their session, and we see their behavior and how they are performing. So, and also there are additional features that Hotjar provides. They are feedbacks and surveys. So let me explain you how these features work. So the recording feature, like I explained it earlier. When a user uses your web application, Hotjar will record their session. Like they will record each and every mouse activity. And it will also show where they had clicked in your application, and where they have hovered, and where they have scrolled it into. And so after watching each and every recording, if you click a play button here, you can see the recordings. So if I go further and show you how the recording is played, so this is how the recording, you would see your recordings in Hotjar. If you have moved into the paid plan of Hotjar, you can define some user attributes, like assign some user ID or any username to that recording, and then it can help you like search for certain client if you want to from the search bar for the recordings. So you can see here, let me revert this back a bit further. You can also see that if your user is using the application in multiple tabs, Hotjar also indicates which tab the user is in currently in the recording. And and then after that, you can see as an example like how we analyze the recordings. Okay, so you can see this user is moving the mouse, and then he was able to trying to click this next button, but it was not working at all. So I was able to identify it was a bug. So that now I have to report it to our developers, right? So because this is our main onboarding page, and since unless one users complain that your application is not working, we would not have identified until it's too late, until we found there was an unusual rate of uninstallation. We would not know how why the users were uninstalling. So we looked into one uninstallation right after the 5 minutes. He uninstalled the app, and we found that the next button was not working at all. So now what I am going to do here is use the highlight feature here, click on the bug button here, and create a highlight so that I can share it with my team. Since Hotjar is quite user friendly, you can create different highlight for different recordings, so that your team members do not have to go through and look into each and every recording from start to finish. You can just create some highlight and share that particular section of that recording and discuss on it. Now I would create a collection and assign it to the bug section and add a comment so that they can be more clarity on this highlight. And yeah, I would say, yeah, the next button is not working. Now I would add a comment there and I would share it to my team, and our developers would fix the issue right away. And because of this, I'm pretty sure we saved a lot of on installation and saved the revenue in our application. So moving on. So this feature might interest a lot of you guys who has attended this meeting. So Hotjar provides an interesting feature, that is the heat map feature. It will let you know that where are the users scrolling the most and where the user are not reaching into. So here it means if the indication is blue or gray, it means the user has not reached down to this page at all. They have not scrolled into this page. But if the indication is red, it means that the user there is more activity here and they are scrolling into this section of the application. So you can gain a lot of information, if you want the user to stay on this, let's say this headers banner of your application, and if your user is scrolling here, then you would know that something needs to change. And let's say if you have some important text or message right below of your application, and you would know that most of your users are not reaching to that section of that page at all. So maybe you can now change it and move it further up so that the user your general user can see that text and learn more about your website. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys would be interested in using this feature, and Hotjar is quite famous for this feature as well. So moving on, you can also choose from which page you want to see the highlights to as well. So we have a couple of pages in our application, and if I ever decide to see highlight from different pages, I can choose any page from here in the search bar here, and I can search for the page from the URL and see the heat map. Okay, so if anyone has any question up until now, please feel free to ask me about it. Do we have any question, Kabin?
No. If anyone does have any question, please do raise your hand or text me directly. It seems there are no questions. You can proceed.
Okay, thank you, Kabin. Moving on, so these are other additional features that Hotjar provides, that are feedbacks. So you might wonder, like, you could get feedbacks by emailing your clients, and like asking, hey, how is it performing? Wouldn't you think if it would be quite easier if you left a certain section of your application, lead a feedback session in your application, and your user can share their experience? So Hotjar provides that feature, and you can create a small pop-up or small button like this here, and you can ask for feedback for your application, and the user can provide how they are feeling in your application. And one interesting feature that Hotjar provide is that it allows your user to select a certain element from your page as well. Like if they click on this select an element on the page, then they can click select element and let you know whether they like that element or they dislike that element, and you can improve upon it according to that feedback. So this is how the feedback is attached to your website. So it is quite minimalistic, and I don't think this would hurt your design at all. So a lot of designers out there would love it. And you can also change the color and match your website theme and however you like. So I guess this feature would quite interest a lot of you as well. A lot of project manager and project owner would really like this feature in their website. Okay, so moving on. So what happens, you might be wondering how that select a range feature, like select an element feature, would work, right? So let's say this user, Darpan like the search bar, right? So he selected the search bar and left a comment, yo, I love this application and the search bar is really cool. So and I got to know that yeah, this search bar is really awesome. So now I would think that let's make something and let's make some changes so that user can interact with the search bar more than rather than the other aspect of the application. Or maybe let's say there was another feature that you would like to see, and if that was getting ignored, then you can start planning on how to improve that feature. Okay, so and another interesting sub feature that Hotjar provides in this feedback section is that you can see what the client was performing, like how the client was behaving before he or she leaves feedback on your application. So let's say if this user had performed a good amount of activity in my application, then the Hotjar would enable this play button. And then you can see the context of the user and understand why he liked or disliked and gave that certain feedback. So I believe this is a great feature that Hotjar has provided, and it would interest a lot of you guys. Now, moving on, you can see Hotjar also provides statistical data on how your website is performing and according to the feedbacks. So if you were getting worried if Hotjar did not provide any statistical data on your client happiness, so you do not have to worry about that. You can see the data as well. Now, if I don't think there are any questions, right, Kabin? Can I move forward?
Yes, I don't see any questions yet. So I guess you can continue.
Okay, thank you, Gavin. Okay, moving on. So now the last feature that Hotjar provides us is the survey feature. So if you like, I guess a lot of developers and project owners and I'm sorry, project managers would agree that you would debate on which feature to release next, So wouldn't it be quite easier if you could ask your users itself, like you could conduct a survey and ask them, yeah, hey, would you like this feature or another feature? And according to the data that you receive, according to the response that you receive, you could develop that feature, So it is an additional feature that Hotjar provides to make things quite easier for project manager and owners and also developers itself. So moving on to the next slide, you can also customize your surveys however you like. You can create a different page when they click click the survey button, or you can create a dialog button, or you can show up a dialog, or you can just make a small pop-up like this and ask survey questions, and you can get pretty good information after asking surveys from a client. Now, moving on, you can also filter out your result however you want. You can see here I have recorded the add filter button from Hotjar, and you can filter out through different options that Hotjar provides. So let's say if you have a paid plan of Hotjar, you can create custom attribute and uh, identify or create some IDs for your different session and recordings, and then you can search for that client using that ID. Here we have assigned the user shop name and shop user ID. So if a client would uninstall or say the app is not performing well, we would just search for that shop name and search it up and look why he uninstalled the application, and we would see if he was facing any bug or any issues here. So if you are thinking to search it from some country as well or some region, then Hotjar would also provide you that option. So let's say you want to see other countries beside Nepal, so you can also do that using Hotjar filter options. There are a lot of features that Hotjar provides so that it is quite user friendly and easy to use. Okay, so moving on. So you would like to, yeah, maybe you might think, yeah, let's try out Hotjar itself, but please make sure that your Hotjar does not fall into these categories, because Hotjar does not support these platforms like Drupal, Google Sites, and Amazon Seller. Hotjar does not, this platform does not support third-party JavaScript, so you can't install Hotjar if you are in this platform, or even Tumblr and SharePoint. So if you are if you are good, if you don't think you fall into this category, then you can use Hotjar easily. And setting up Hotjar is quite easy as well. You are just a few clicks away to set up Hotjar in your application. So what you need to do is click on install tracking code for your website in Hotjar, and then click on add code manually, and it will provide you a JavaScript code. And then all you have to do is copy that code and add it between your header tags, and then your Hotjar will start recording each session, and you will start getting data immediately. So, and also, if you might think that the installation did not work, then Hotjar also provides a verify installation button to make sure your Hotjar was set up properly. So so the main question is, should you use Hotjar? I'm pretty sure the answer would be yes, because why not? You would start to understand how your user is behaving on your website and what they need and how they feel really fast. I don't think if you would use any other application, you would get this type of answers, like how we got. You would understand how your client is performing in each of your page, and you can see the journey that they went through and how they are behaving. So you can also see how after we started using Hotjar, we had a really great improvement, and we are growing more and more every day. And I'm using Hotjar has been quite a blessing for us, and we want to make sure, we wanted to share, how good it was for us. And we are a community, right? We need to help each others out, and I guess using Hotjar would help a lot of project managers, developers, and owners out there. So I guess you got the answer. And okay, so I guess we are in the Q&A session. So if anybody of you have any question related to the session right now, please feel free to ask.
Yeah, there are a few questions, Darpan. So I'll start with the first question, and it is from Jivan. So he has this to say. You said Hotjar records every session of a user. Let's suppose I have a user who is using my app very frequently. That is around 5 to 10 times a day. If he or she encountered a bug at one time of the day, so won't that be too much of a work to figure out the bug for that much of recordings a day? I mean, there are many recordings that day, so wouldn't it be too much work to figure out that one bug among all of those recordings?
I guess this answer would be best if Subash could answer it, because he's a developer himself and he's a project leader, and I guess he would provide a good answer rather than me. Can you take over the mic, Subash?
Thank you. So regarding the multiple recordings of the same users, this will be pretty much clear that there will be the more record in a day. But if you are figuring out the issues or the any painful events that customer are experiencing using our app, then and I think we should go through those events or those recordings, and there is always an options to view the longer session or more closely sessions, so that we can identify that user might have some problem during this particular session, not for all the events that will be for like yesterday and like 2 hours ago or 5 hours ago. So we can always filter those events, particularly based on the day or hours or even month or even latest, so that you can understand what the users were doing, and if there is particularly some bugs, particularly for that types of user, then you can take immediate action. So yeah, it will be a more time taking in case of those things, but you will always have some insightful things from those recordings. So I guess we need to go through all those recordings for getting some things to improve our app. Okay, so Jivan, or does this?
So I guess Subash answered the question here. Did this answer your question, Jivan? Oh yeah. So Jivan is saying that it did answer his question. So moving on to the next question, we have another question from Sandeep Ji here. So he's asking survey गरेको क्वेशन्सहरू चाहिँ युजरसम्म कसरी पुग्छ. So how does that work? So yeah, please answer it.
Okay,
Darpan or Ren. Thank you.
So to answer your question, you can trigger some events, to ask some question, or you can just like create some like a feature, like or maybe choose to ask survey in different pages of your application. Like we do not use the survey feature yet, but we are thinking to use it. But as far as I know, you can create certain events, like after a client click onto a button or after they view certain ranges of pages through JavaScript, and then you can ask the survey question to those clients as well. Hotjar has a lot of, is quite very user friendly, and you can look into it, and it is really easy to set up this kind of feature. They provide the feature, their app itself. You do not have to do a lot of custom coding yourself to ask certain question after certain events. So if you were wondering how it works like that, I guess I was able to answer your question, Sandeep. And if you have any question, please let me know about it.
Thank you, Darpan. So Sandeep Ji, I guess Darpan answered your question. If you have still any confusions, please let us know. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can just text it in the chat. Okay, so he's saying that it did answer the question. So moving on to the next question. So we have another question from Kemraj Basnet. So a very valid question here. So he has this to say, does it work only for web application or mobile application as well?
Currently, Hotjar provides for web application. Is that correct, Subash? Yes. So if your if your website is responsive for mobile, then Hotjar would work there as well. But for now, Hotjar only works for web application, and it does not work for any mobile application.
So yeah, it seems Hotjar only works for web application at the moment. So I guess it did answer your question, Kemraji. And moving on to next question. So it's from Prasansa. So won't Hotjar make your website slow? So a very relative question.
In my experience, using Hotjar has not slowed down our application at all, and we have not found any issues at all. And so to further elaborate more on this, I would ask Subash to take on the mic.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, whenever you place any JavaScript code or any script on your web applications that intend to make your performance little bit slow, but that won't impact your user, So basically, Hotjar is built on the JavaScript with the latest technology, like they use mutation observe event API from the modern web browser, so that they just can collect the DOM changes for certain period of time, and they will send those activities to the Hotjar center using the WebSocket rather than using XSR request or any polling or AJAX request. So this will Hotjar code will make might make your app little bit slow, but user won't experience any slowness in your performance or anything. So because Hotjar themselves uses recording and heatmaps in most of the cases, and for heatmap, as I told previously, they uses mutation observer API rather than the other things. So they will just record, you just take the record of the DOM that will changes within I guess 10 millisecond for an event or something like that, that can be set on Hotjar settings. So in practically you won't see any slowness in your web applications. No worries on those parts.
All right, thank you, Subash. Yeah, it will only affect a little bit, I guess. It won't affect the user experience of your customers. So I guess it's good to use. I guess that answered your question, Prasansa. So moving on, we have next question from Zero N. So he has this to say: could you share some concrete examples next to that next button on what type of improvements did you make based on your 6 months usage of Hotjar? So what are the improvements that we saw in our own product after using Hotjar?
Okay. So I'm a bit quite did not get the question right. So would you like to see an example like how we improved upon yesterday's bug in that next question, next button, Jurun?
So I guess the
And,
question is more about what improvements did we see in our product itself after using Hotjar?
Okay, I see. So we after using Hotjar, we started to see we started to see a lot of bugs in our front end. We started to see that a lot of pop-ups were not working properly. For example, like we have a feature if the client did not set up their e-commerce website properly, then we would identify the client, notify the client saying, by showing a pop-up, your Etsy shop is not working properly at all. So please, your Etsy website is not set up right now. So please go on and set up your Etsy shop. But what we found was that even if their Etsy shop was was set up completely, that the pop-up was showing up in random events. So unless the client had emailed us a couple of times saying that he was facing this issue, we would have no information whether that the pop-up was causing some issue to our client. So after using that was one of the first issues that we found out while using Hotjar, and we found out that a lot of users were feeling quite annoyed because of it. So we took an action right away and removed the certain events that was causing the issue. Also, let me explain you other examples as well. So we have a feature to like send from Shopify to Etsy, right? But also we have another feature to send Etsy product to Shopify product. And yeah, a lot of users would transfer their Etsy products to Shopify as well. But what we found out was a lot of users were having quite difficulty to see which of the products were linked or which of the products were transferred from Etsy to Shopify. We did not get a lot of queries regarding it, and we just saw a lot of users were tending to visit our product upload page or view products page, and were hovering into it for a while. And what we found out was a lot of users had transferred their Etsy products to Shopify in that case. And so we've then made some improvement in our UI to make things quite easier for our users. And it has helped, I'm sure it has improved our application a lot after that finding as well. So was I able to answer your question, Jurong? So if I was not, then please let me know about it.
So yeah, according to Darpan, obviously it helped improve our app and also resulted out in new amazing features that we did not know which we needed. So yeah, it answered Zero's question. Thank you, Darpan. So moving on to next question, we have okay, Assis here. So he has this to say: do we have any limitations in videos recording?
As for limitation, I guess you cannot see the console data. As a developer, you might think that those information would be quite useful to see, like the console, like how your application was performing in the console and how the JavaScript is doing. But Hotjar does not provide that kind of feature, and you cannot see the back, like the other process beside the front end recording section of Hotjar itself. And then also sometimes another limitation that can be said is that sometimes the recording is not properly recorded. That's really rare cases, but if you reach out to Hotjar, they will find out why your recording is not being saved, and they will try to optimize it and help you out as well. So other than that, I'm pretty sure the other use cases are pretty useful. So if you are a developer and you wanted to see like other information related to JavaScripts, then that type of feature is not provided by Hotjar. And also, yeah, there are a lot of tools that also provide live session as well. If a user is active in your website, and then if you want to see how they are performing live, Hotjar do not have any features like that to view the live session of your users as well. So that is another limitation of Hotjar.
Thank you, Darpan, for answering that. So I'd like to confirm this from Ashish himself. So did it answer your question? If yes, please do let me know. Okay, thank you, Ashish, for the reply. So it did answer his question. So moving on to next question. Okay, this one. Okay, is Hotjar a free tool?
Hotjar does provide a free plan for you with some limited features. Like if one of the paid plans feature is that you can identify custom attributes to its recordings, and in that feature you do not have that access. Also in free feature you are limited to some like limited recordings of your pages. So it is free but with some limitation.
Okay, thank you, Darpan, for that. We have some more questions. So moving on to the next question. Okay, so this one's from Sandeep. So he has this to say. Like if this tool is really important for UX and project manager, do company like Microsoft, Apple, Facebook really use it? I wonder if this help a lot in UX, or why are they not using it?
Okay,
Companies like Facebook. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if they haven't used it yet, companies like Facebook and Google, I'm pretty sure they would it would be quite useful for them using Hotjar, because in my experience itself, we were looking into the Hotjar and we found that our mobile application view was not performing really well in certain sizes, and we did not know some of the users used that size of application at all. So immediately after that we knew that we have to optimize our UI, and we released a view for that screen size as well. And also let me tell you another example as well. Sometimes like you might develop a UI and thinking that this would make things quite easier for the user, like add a certain text in top of or the bottom of the page, like which I explained earlier. But if the user are not scrolling there at all, then that information is getting missed. So you would know now you have to like move that text a bit further up in your page, or make some indication or some animation to let the user know there are more information to be seen at the bottom of your page. So I'm sure if you use as a UI designer and front-end designer, if you use Hotjar, it would be quite useful for you. And if Facebook also uses, like, I'm sure if Facebook has not used it right, if they use Hotjar, I'm pretty sure they would improve their application a lot as well because of issues like this.
Uh, Thank you, Darpan, for answering the question. So basically, it really helps the designers. So after all, the UI and UX part is regarding the visual information that we need to provide to the users, and it helps us identify what information are getting on the users and which information are not. So I think that helps designers in that way as well. And I also searched just now, and companies like Microsoft, Adobe, and Nintendo, they do use Hotjar according to their website. So the tool is being used by those companies as well. So did it answer your question, Sandeep? Okay, if you still have any questions, you can just send it in the chat. Okay, he has this to say again. So are there any drawbacks of Hotjar? And also there are alternative tools like Optimizely, user testing, Mixpanel. So why should we choose Hotjar over those tools?
Because Hotjar has claimed themselves that this tool is quite team oriented and quite user friendly. I mean, you might argue you could use Mixpanel and some other tools that might be quite efficient for a website, but I don't think those tools are as quite easy as Hotjar. As I am not that technically talented yet, as I am just beginning in this journey, I do not know a lot of technical stuff myself, but I can use Hotjar pretty easily, you know. So once there isn't any hard features there in Hotjar, and every aspect of Hotjar is pretty simple, and Hotjar is specifically designed for project manager and project owner and UI designers. So it would be quite useful if you fall into that category the most, and if you are working in a team. And also, like I explained earlier, what was the, can you repeat the question again, Kabin?
Yeah, sure. So repeating the question. Are there any drawbacks of Hotjar?
Yeah, like I explained earlier, like if you are a developer and you would like to see any errors from Hotjar, then like from the backend aspect or from the console aspect from of JavaScript, then that is not available in Hotjar. And also you that also, like Subash I explained earlier, it might make your application a bit slower, but it isn't that noticeable at all. So yeah, if there are anything else, then can you add it upon it, Subhastai, beside the thing that I have explained?
So basically, Hotjar can be categorized as an tools to view the customer experience on the website, and that Mixpanel and other Mixpanel is a tools to do the product analytics. So in Hotjar you can have a user session recording, and you can see those parts as a visual form. But in terms of Mixpanel and any others product analytics tools, those works on the event base. So in Mixpanel, you need to have an event that will be fired when that particular event is triggered in your website. But in Hotjar, if user visited those page, then those records will be shown in Hotjar dashboard. So basically, Hotjar working principle and Mixpanel working principle are two different things. So they can be related somehow, but in terms of customer experience in your website, Hotjar is more feasible. And if you want to know what events or what action the user are being carrying on your website, then Mixpanel might be the good tools for you. So basis on a criteria and a requirement, you can choose any of the tools in the markets. Basically, why we choose Hotjar is because it's handy for us and it gives us more information other than the tools those are available in the market. So there is no fast and hard rule, so that you need to use Hotjar, or you need to integrate this particularly in your website. From the available tools, Hotjar is the best suit for us, and maybe it will be the best suit for other also. So it's up totally up to on the requirement and the scopes of your applications or browser, I guess.
So, did it answer your question, Sandeep? Yeah. So it did answer the question. So as I got to know, Hotjar is more easier to use, even if you're a non-technical person, and you can gather a lot of information. Okay, so we have one last question. So the question is from Rajan, and he has this to say: is it that Hotjar doesn't use TypeScript?
Okay, can you take over the mic for this question, Subash?
Okay, Darpan. So Hotjar is just a plain JavaScript snippet or simple code that will be placed under the head tag of your HTML or index page of any of your templates. So basically, for the user or the one who want to use the Hotjar, they are just the JavaScript code, plain text. But in terms of their backend logic, Hotjar might have used TypeScript, but from the consumption point or consumer point, it's just a plain JavaScript, and it's like 2 or 3 lines of JavaScript that can be placed in your head tags of the browser of web application.
So, did that answer your question, Rajan? If it did, you can let us know in the chat, or if you have any question, you can send it as well. Okay, so it seems it did answer his question. Okay, we are short in time, but let's take one last question from Sandeep. So he has this to say: let's say हामीसँग चाहिँ धेरै पेजेस छ, and do we need to put JS in every pages कि index page मा मात्र राख्ने, if it tracks all other pages or not?
As far as I know, you don't have to put in every web pages of your website. So if you keep it in your index page, I'm sure it is you are good to go while installing the Hotjar.
Okay, so it seems according to Darpan, you can only put that in your index page and it will work for all of your remaining pages. So that's the Q&A session for today. Thank you once again to every one of you for the questions. It really helped us make it interactive. So now, once again, thank you. I thank you everyone, all of you, for joining our third public knowledge sharing session and on Hotjar. So we hope that this session was valuable to all of you and you learned something new today. We look forward to your presence in our future sessions as well. And to stay updated about our future upcoming sessions, you can stay connected with us by following us on our Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. It will be sent in the chat. And also you can connect with the Hotjar team working in our company. We have sent that in the chat itself. So thank you once again.